Hello and welcome. I'm returning to watching What Men Want movie and using its storyline of the main character, Ali Davies, to illustrate what may be happening in today's workplaces. And today I'm looking at the performance review process. So let's start with what's happening to Ali Davies. As we know, or as we may remember, and we meet her when she's not being given the role she was hoping for, and she's not becoming a partner. And this is what her conversations with the boss looks like straight after the announcement.
Is this a joke, Nick? Huh? I mean, what the fuck do I have to do to make partner?
Breathe, grab a Fiji.
We see Ali not being happy about the lack of promotion. She's verbal about it, and we see her boss's response to that. So this is a topic on its own. So I'm giving you a heads up that I've made a separate video on how to communicate about our disappointment in the workplaces. So let's park that until the next time. Today, I want to focus on the process.
I mean, you know the deal. It has to be unanimous partner approval.
Okay, so who was it? It was Kevin, wasn't it? I knew it was Kevin.
It's anonymous, so I honestly couldn't tell you. Look, this is a meritocracy.
So Ali's boss is mentioning the two things about their own process, which was about becoming a partner. One that is anonymous, and second one that it's meritocracy based. Today, I want to focus on the different process that is more relevant to more of us, which is the end of the year review or performance management review that we continue to be very familiar with. I want to give you behind the scenes of how does this process look like from the HR point of view, how decisions are being made, what may be useful for you to know. I've actually found a TED Talk by Carla Harris who describes her experience with that process from back 1988. And as I was listening to it, I was like, I need to comment how different it is today from what she experienced back in 1988, because it's not really so much more different. So let's do that. I'm gonna put the clip from her TED Talk and I'm gonna comment what is happening in today's organizations. And I would like to hear if you have other insights and maybe you can share a better way of doing so. Carla calls it the roundtable. The term I'm using, I've heard being used in different organizations, is calibration process. But really, apart from the name, it sounds very familiar.
That was the process where they were discussed behind closed doors.
Yes, it is behind the closed doors, definitely. Even before GDPR, I like to think that everyone in HR like to protect the personal data, so that's definitely behind the closed doors.
And everyone was put into a category.
In those meetings, employees are being put into categories, and the performance ratings change. And there is another big part of the discussion is, should we be rating, how should we be rating, what language we're going to be using, are the numbers, are the descriptions, whatever it may be. And the end of the day, people usually can be put into the lowest rating, middle rating, and the perfect rating, or the whatever, the exceeds expectations, excels rating. It does happen. It does happen.
And then that was translated into a bonus rank.
In 2002, a study shows that there were, let me quote, a survey of US firms found that 95% used performance evaluations and 90% had a merit-based pay plan in place, which basically means your performance rating was impacting your pay review. So that was in 2002. An article from Harvard Business Review, one of many that talks about performance reviews, talks about a more recent study that showed that in the US, a third of the multinational companies is moving away from the performance reviews, as we know, on the annual basis, and is moving towards more frequent feedback, less linking pay less to the performance reviews. And then it would be assigned to the bonus range. So different there. I'm going into technicalities. Let's put it this way, not all roles in the organizations have bonus schemes. So usually you would first look at the pay review, and then you may have a separate meeting to discuss the bonus review for those who are entitled to the bonus. Let me not start on the bonus. Maybe let me just quote Dan Pink on that one.
These contingent motivators. If you do this, then you get that. Work in some circumstances, but for a lot of tasks, they actually either don't work or often they do harm.
And in the quoted by me before Harvard Business Review article, they do say that the problem is with the remuneration. Let me quote. But the biggest limitation of annual reviews, and we have observed the main reason more and more companies are dropping them, is this. With the heavy emphasis on financial rewards and punishments and the end of year structure, they hold people accountable for past behavior and at the expense of improving current performance and grooming talent for the future, both of which are critical for organizations' long-term survival. Short-term performance reviews are easy to manage. Long-term, they have unintended bad consequences. But this is a very big topic. I am mentioning this at this moment, but let's have a look. I want to discuss the performance review from the meritocracy and the possibility of objectivity point of view for today's video. Another point to make is that companies usually have a pot of money that they can split among the employees when it comes to the annual pay review. It's usually around 2-3% of the annual salary. Ideally, would have been at least at the level of inflation, but companies can't guarantee it for many financial and being responsible employees reason, I guess. So there is a part that departments are being given to split between the employees, and this is within what they can maneuver when it comes to the normal end of the year pay review. Another topic is when it comes to aligning the salaries. If we really want to be that inclusive employer, look at the differences, discrepancies between roles. But that's a different topic, and that's a different considerations to be made. And then again, from the pay review as well, there will be employees who are already at the good level, if like on the marketplace, internally. So even if they perform really well, they may not have a great amount of increase because they are already at the top of the bracket, for example. So there are lots of nuances to look at as well. When it comes to bonus, if you are on the bonus scheme, there's certainly there has to be a bonus policy, a bonus communication. You can check on the intranet, and usually different elements are being taken into considerations, from the company overall performance to your department, to your own personal goals. So there are rules about that. So you can find them on the intranet, most likely so.
I saw that there was one person that was responsible for recording the outcome of a conversation.
So that one person responsible for recording the outcome of the conversations happens quite often to be HR. Obviously, it has to be confirmed with everyone else, and it doesn't have to be HR, it's just often HR.
There were other people in the room that had the responsibility of presenting the cases of all the candidates.
So when it comes to presenting the case, and when I'm not talking about promotions, when I'm talking about pay review with a possible promotion, I guess, in those kind of meetings, line managers are not present unless it's a smaller organization. I guess it's the feasibility of it as well. So the line managers are not there. The head of departments are there, someone more senior in that department. And they will present the case. When I say present the case, it doesn't mean that there is a pre-arranged agenda necessary for it. It's as the conversation comes, as the names are being picked up, they say what they have to say about the individual. In my experience, those kind of conversations were done within the function, but the whole departments were in. And so Head of department will comment on the individuals, but other heads of departments could join in the conversations. And they did. And actually studies show that having evaluations done this way, that there's not only one person judging, but brings more perspective in, is actually something that can help moving us towards meritocracy or moving us towards a little bit more objectivity. It's better basically than just one person commenting on one's performance.
And they theoretically had some interaction with those candidates.
Yeah, in theory, given that projects where people were office-based when we used to work in the offices, and that kind of exposure. But from my experience, very often the senior leaders knew the team members in their departments and what was going on, and they were very curious and interested in that, with good intentions, I would say. Like my experience most of the times was positive, working with those senior leaders, having a genuine interest in people that were working for them. So it may sound from you that you are not being watched, and I don't mean it in the wrong way. There is an element of curiosity and interest in the people who are working for them. So definitely, it may not be everyday interactions, but they knew quite a lot. And they were also, from my experience, able to appreciate other people in the different teams quite often. So from my point of view, often that was, I don't want to say refreshing, but maybe reassuring to be part of those conversations most of the times.
Now, I was really excited to be at this round.
I was also excited to be at this table for the first time, perhaps from different reasons that Carla is going to say in a second. I was very interested because I was very excited about that, because I believe that as HR we have these privileged positions very often that we can actually make a difference, influence what's happening, and impact positively our organizations. I definitely cared about the employees and doing the right thing, building the culture. So I think that HR roles in those kind of meetings is very important. I'm going to comment on that later in the video, but I just wanted to signal that at this point. We definitely have more to do than just note the final outcome.
I wanted to understand how this concept of a meritocracy that every company that I talked to walking out of business school was selling.
Let me quote after Caroline Criado Perez from the book Invisible Woman, where we read the following: "The fact that meritocracy is a myth is not a popular one. Around the industrialized world, people believe that not only is meritocracy the way of things should work, it's the way things do work. Despite evidence suggesting that, if anything, the US is less meritocratic than other industrialized countries, Americans in particular hold onto meritocracy as an article of faith, and employment and promotion strategies over the past few decades have increasingly been designed as if meritocracy is a reality." And actually studies show that believing that our decisions are meritocratic introduces the bias to the process, which makes them less meritocratic in the end.
This is a great candidate. Outstanding. The recorder then said, "Sounds like Joe should go at the top, in the top bucket."
Absolutely, this happens in those meetings. And the next happens as well.
Disaster, disaster. This kid doesn't have a clue.
And Carla makes a very good point. Who's going to speak for me there?
Who's going to speak for me?
From the HR point of view, definitely from my experience or from what I stand for, and from diversity and inclusion point of view, I think that HR has a big role to play in those meetings. We can be what's called the bias interrupter. So what I would often do, I would ask questions. I would ask questions to challenge or to check the thinking. So for example, do you think the rating could have been better for that person should they have not been on a long-term sickness? Another thing that is happening was bringing insights from different voices. If this person is at this level, what about this person? And that was happening quite often. People were being compared against each other's. It may sound bad, but on the positive side, this helps interrupting the bias. This helps interrupting the halo effect that I'm going to talk in the next one of the next videos as well. But interrupting the bias, helping with the quality of thinking with those meetings is something that HR can do, and managers as well. I've seen managers, very senior leaders, so I'm not talking line managers, the most senior leaders in the department, fighting for the employees, knowing the dedications and knowing that the pay could have been aligned with others, presenting the cases, really caring about them. And even if they couldn't have achieved for them what they were hoping for, they could go back to the employer and say, look, I've tried my best. This is what we can offer for you for this time, but they've tried. And I've really seen the senior leaders fighting for the employees, and very reassuring. So it doesn't have to be all bad, but it is as Carla describes. It depends who's in the room and what they think about you that matters.
You cannot have a 100% meritocratic environment when there is a human element involved in the evaluative equation.
I won't be quoting, for the obvious reason, the whole TED Talk, but listen to the rest of her talk. What I want to focus on is what she's saying in this part.
I said, oh, this person that is carrying your interest, or as I like to say, carrying your paper into the room, this person who is spending their valuable political and social capital on you.
This is such an important point. So what Carla is mentioning in here is the social, political, valuable capital that the person that is going to be sponsoring you brings to the table. In other words, it needs to be safe and valuable for them to stand up for you. There is a study that shows that associating yourself with diversity brings you down. It's not politically wise to associate yourself with minorities. The way I look at that, there are laws of physics. We know the apple is gonna fall because of the gravity, and there are laws of human interactions and how we are constructed and how we function. So we can use that knowledge to improve the quality of our working relationships, but we can't be naive about them, I think.
If you have been invited into the room, you have a responsibility to speak.
Carla talks about the 2 ways that you can improve your perceptions and how to get a sponsor, so I highly recommend for you to watch that, and also another video of Carla that I'm gonna link below. I also share with you, with the link below, my PDF with 6 exercises on how to spot and address bias. It can be used if you're an employee, it can be used if you're a manager. Experiment with that. Have a look at what we can be paying attention to. It can be a way of you to have an insight into what can we watch for. So I highly recommend that. It's for free. This includes the exercise from Carla Harris with all the due credits given. I also include in my links below how to do job crafting with Rob Baker from Tailored Thinking. That's a great simple exercise that can help you and your employees get more focused on the right things and help to grow their careers. I also have the link to valid goals settings for the career development, so have a look at that one as well, and try to be more reflective. For me, inclusion is about improving the quality of thinking, and see this as an opportunity to learn and experiment and think about how you think. I hope you found this insight into the performance review process useful. The performance reviews is under the scrutiny. It has been for a couple of years, if not more. Some organizations are better at that, some are a little bit behind. But the direction is to design performance reviews in a way that they are less biased, and also that they are more motivational, that they can help employee learn and thrive rather than be afraid of or thinking about how can I present my case in this performance review, how can I perhaps dress up my metrics so it looks better and be in the defense mode. See you in the next episode when I'm going to be talking about how to face those conversations when you're disappointed with the outcome of the end of the year review. And later comes we're going to talk about specific biases in the performance reviews and how meritocratic the process really was for Ali Davies and her colleagues. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. Bye.